Good evening and welcome to this evening's Development Management Committee meeting. I am Joan Grime, Councillor for Culcheth, Glaisbury and Croft, and I will be chairing the meeting. Due to the current coronavirus pandemic, the Council have taken steps to follow restrictions and health guidance in relation to social distancing, whilst balancing the needs of carrying out our regulatory functions. This is the 18th meeting of this committee that is being held remotely. The agenda for the meeting will run as per the usual format. The meeting is being broadcast live to the public who have had the opportunity to make written representations which have been distributed to members. However, there will be no input from the public during the meeting. This is in line with the Coronavirus Act of 2020, Section 78. Present at the meeting are elected Borough Councillors plus officers of Warrington Borough Council. I will now ask all those present to introduce themselves. At the same time, will councillors confirm that they have received the agenda and reports on the applications and have a copy in front of them, and also that they have read the additional written representations emailed, some for each application. Update reports have also been circulated and available for members to view. So can members now introduce themselves? Councillor Barr.
Good evening, I'm Councillor Bob Barr. I represent Lymm North and Thelwall, and I have the papers before me and I've read the additional written representations in the update report. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Carey.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Councillor Peter Carey. I represent the Fairfield and Howley ward, and I confirm that I have all the agenda papers and the supplementary information sent out by email, which I've read and have before me. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Flaherty.
Good evening, I'm Councillor Jean Flaherty, also Fairfield and Howley, and I confirm I have the agenda and all the appropriate papers and updates, and I have read them all. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Friend.
Good evening, I'm Councillor Graham Friend, representing Poulton North. I have the agenda and all the other papers and the updates, and I've read and understood them. Thank you, Chair.
Right, thank you. I understand Councillor McCarthy is online. Has he managed to join us at the meeting?
That's separate from the locality role of the
Councillor Mundry, can you introduce yourself while we see what's happening?
Quiet. Yes, I'm Councillor Karen Mundry from Latchford East. I have got the updates and the agenda in front of me and read them all. Thank you.
Okay. Has Councillor Parish managed to join us? Okay, Councillor Wheeler, can you introduce yourself?
Good evening, I'm Judith Wheeler, Councillor for Appleton, Hatton, Stretton and High Walton. I confirm I've had read the papers, got the papers, read them. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. And Councillor Wright.
Hi, Councillor Steve Wright, representing Bushy White Cross. I've got the agenda and all the papers, and I've got the update reports, and I've read them all. Thank you.
Thank you. Also, I will ask the officers to introduce themselves. Have we got from Democratic Services?
Katie Halliwell, Democratic Services Officer.
Right, thank you, Katie. Legal Services, have we got a representative?
Yes, thank you, Chair. It's Paul Clisby, solicitor, here to advise the committee should they require any assistance.
Okay, and from Planning we have the Development Manager, Nikki.
Thank you, Chair. I'm Nikki Gallagher, I'm the Development Manager.
Thank you. Is Matthew, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I'm Matt Carney. I'm the Major Applications Team Leader in Development Management.
Okay, and has Liz arrived at the meeting?
Good evening, Chair. Liz Sneed, Senior Planning Officer.
Thank you. Going on to agenda item 1, I know we've received apologies from Councillor Morgan. Have we any other apologies?
No further apologies, Chair.
Thank you, Katie.
But Councillor McCarthy has joined us now.
Yes, I'm in now.
Oh, that's great. Councillor McCarthy, can you introduce yourself?
Sorry for that. I've got the COVID test, unfortunately.
Can you introduce yourself and confirm you've got all the notes?
Yeah. It's Councillor Tony McCarthy. I represent Wrexham and Woolston. I've got the documents in front of me, Chair, and I've read all the supplementary documents as well. Thank you.
That's great. So we come on to declarations of interest. Members are reminded of their responsibility to declare any disclosable pecuniary or non-pecuniary interest which they have in any item of business on the agenda, no later than when the item is reached. Will members indicate on the chat function if there are any interests that they need to disclose, and then I'll invite them to mention it. I haven't got any yet. Okay. Is that Councillor Wheeler?
It is, Chair, yes. Can I declare, sorry, yeah, the second item, the Grappenhall Hayes development. Appleton Parish Council has raised concerns on this application. I'm chair of Appleton Parish Council, but I've not been party to any discussions about this application. I don't take part in any of their planning meetings. And the third item, Bridgewater Upper School. This is in my ward, Chair. I've been involved in discussions on the consultation they did to increase the number of school places, which is linked to this planning application, but I've not been involved. I was aware of the planning application, obviously, but I've not been involved in any discussions about the planning application, and I've not made any public comment on it, Chair.
That sounds fine to me. Do you want to make any comments, Paul Clisby?
That's all in order, Chair. Councillor Wheeler is perfectly entitled to take part in the meeting on that basis.
That's fine, thank you. I haven't got any other indications of any declarations of interest. So we'll go on to the minutes of the last meeting. Has any member seen a problem with the minutes of the meeting on the 3rd of March, which have been circulated to you? No one has indicated any problem, so I confirm that the minutes of the DMC meeting on the 3rd of March 2021 are a correct record. We go on to planning applications, and item 1 is application 2020. You've got rid of my hello, can anyone hear me?
We can hear you, Chair.
Chair,
I've lost my screen because
Wright.
my mouse just fell off the
Chair.
Yes?
I couldn't get the chat to, I'm a ward member for Busey White Cross on the first item.
Yeah.
That's what, I'm not sort of part in any discussions or anything, I'm just saying I'm the ward member for that, for the first item 1.
Okay.
That's just to record that.
I'm trying to get back onto my screen so you'll be able to see me.
Chair, would it be helpful if I just started a presentation while you have a look at, maybe get some IT support?
Yes, that would be great.
Okay. So we'll first of all, in item 1 is an application for, it's an outline planning application for a new hotel and ancillary works. The application before us is for a new hotel on the site of an existing 107 space surface car park within an allocated employment area in Inner Warrington. It's located between Centre Park Square and Slutchers Lane. Matters for consideration at this stage are the principal, access, layout and scale. Appearance and landscaping are reserved for future consideration through a further application. The application is before members at the discretion of the Director of Growth. It was advertised by 13 neighbour notification letters, site notice and press notice, and 5 representations have been received, principally from local businesses, although 1 letter from a residential property was also received. The main issues raised relate to the principle of the development, highway safety and residential amenity as a result of construction, traffic and antisocial behaviour by hotel residents. All matters raised are detailed in section 4 of the report. As members are aware, all planning applications must be determined in accordance with local planning policies unless other material considerations indicate otherwise. The relevant local planning policies contained within the core strategy are detailed within section 6 of the report. The key issues associated with the development are discussed in section 9, and for the purposes of this discussion I will focus on the principle of the proposed development within an employment area, highways matters, impact on the character and amenity of the area and residential amenity, and I'll take each of these in turn. The site is located as employment land in the core strategy, which identifies land for B1, B2, B8 and sui generis employment uses, although it does not preclude other related developments. The planning application is for a business hotel within use class C1 and is therefore considered to support the local employment area and is acceptable in principle in accordance with the provisions of local policy. Consideration has been given to the location of the hotel out of the town centre in what has been identified as an edge of centre site. The application was submitted with a sequential test that demonstrates that no suitable and available sites can be identified in the town centre. The site is suitable in terms of accessibility to the town centre and public transport connections, and the site is therefore to be considered to be appropriate location for a hotel. Clarification has been provided on the status of the relevant local planning policy PV1 within the update note circulated earlier today, and this takes into account changes to the use classes order that came in force late last year. It's considered that the assessment of the principle of the hotel use within an employment area remains appropriate as per the report. Access to the site reflects that of the current car park on site via Park Boulevard from Chester Road, Woodhurstfield Causeway roundabout. Access is not allowed from the Slutchers Lane, via the new Centre Park link to ensure the free flow of traffic along that highway can be maintained. 76 car parking spaces are proposed within the development, which would see a reduction from the 105 currently on site. It is therefore considered that there would be no significant adverse impacts to the development on the surrounding road network as a result. A Section 106 agreement for £50,400 has been negotiated for the town centre travel plan to improve sustainable travel to the town centre on foot and bicycle. This would support the council's aspirations in the first and last mile and recognises the proximity of the site to the centre. The core strategy recognised the importance of enhancing the character and appearance of existing areas when considering proposed developments. This is an outline application, and although the detailed appearance of the proposal will be submitted at reserved matter stage, through the outline consent we are determining layout and scale. The application proposes a 7-storey building sited within a plot so as to respect Slutchers Lane frontage. Whilst it is recognised that the scale is greater than the existing developments within the vicinity, it is not considered that the difference is so significant to render it incongruous as the massing visualisations on pages 32 and 33 demonstrate, and I think we may have some of those on screen as well. Principally, it would be viewed from within the business area rather than from residential areas and would enhance the character of the area and demonstrate continued investment. It provides a real opportunity for high quality design that would be visible from both the railway bridge and Lakeside Drive, the precise appearance of which would be considered at reserved matter stage, but for information members may be interested in the illustrations detailing the proposal that have been submitted in support of the application, and they are on your screen now. The hotel is located a significant distance away from residential properties, and therefore there would be no direct impacts on neighbouring amenity in terms of general comings and goings, and there would be no increase in traffic generation above current levels as a result. Concern had been raised by a resident regarding construction noise and traffic, and a condition for construction management plan is included within the recommendation. In conclusion, the application is considered to support the functioning of the employment area in which it is located through the provision of ancillary overnight accommodation in the form of a business hotel, and it is an acceptable edge of centre location in close proximity to the town centre and public transport. The proposed scale of the building provides an opportunity to enhance the character of this area, and there is no adverse impacts in terms of highway safety or amenity. On this basis, the application is recommended for approval, subject to conditions, including the modifications included within the update note and Section 106 agreement. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I can confirm that we have received additional written representations from the Village Hotel in Warrington against and from Zerum in support. I confirm these representations will be included in the minutes of this meeting. So I'll now, first of all, welcome Councillor Steve Parish, who has finally been able to arrive at the meeting. Welcome, Steve. Would you like to introduce yourself and confirm you've got all the notes for the people attending?
Thank you, Chair. If I'm in time, that is. Yes, I've got all the notes. So I had a family member taken ill this afternoon, but nothing too serious. So if I'm still allowed to participate with my late arrival, I have read all the papers and have no interest to declare either.
Can I have some advice from legal, Paul Clisby?
Yes, Chair. I mean, clearly members need, it's in the same way as you would at a physical meeting. Members need to be present to ensure that they have all the information before them. I mean, I don't think Councillor Parish has missed a great deal there. He's just an introduction, which is a summary of the application before us. I think. Ms. Gallagher, I don't know whether Ms. Gallagher is. I don't think there's anything in your presentation which is new material, which would bar Councillor Parish from catching up, as it were.
No, Paul, it was just a general summary of the report and just to highlight the elements within the update report as well. But all the information has been provided previously. Yeah,
so I would say on that basis, Councillor Parish is fine to take part.
Thank you, Chair.
That's great. Okay, so I'll now invite comments and questions from members to officers. Will you please indicate using the chat function if you wish to ask a question of an officer or if you wish to make a comment. I haven't got any comments arrived yet. Councillor Wheeler.
Thank you, Chair. I'm not sure my comments are directly related to this application, but I have said, and I will continue to say, that I have serious concerns about the safety of the the Brian Bevan roundabout and traffic accessing the Centre Park, particularly if you're coming down the A49 Wilderspool Causeway, because there is, due to the speed of the traffic, particularly traffic using the Centre Park, the Village Hotel and the businesses there, the fact that very few cars will indicate, the fact if you are crossing, it is very difficult to cross when the cars are coming at speed. If you're on a cycle, it's even worse because you are likely to be sliced in two by a car. I don't think this application deals with anything to look at the safety of that roundabout, but it's a question I'd like to ask of Mike, please.
Yeah, Mike.
Thanks, Chair. No, Councillor Wheeler's concerns are appreciated. Obviously, Brian Bevan roundabout's one of the busiest roundabouts in the borough. There are a number of access points. It's complicated to use. It's difficult for pedestrians to cross each of those. But she's right in respect of the fact that this proposal doesn't directly offer to address that, but neither does it make it any worse. This proposal is on a site which I think was 106 car parking spaces, so potentially generated 106 vehicle movements in and 106 vehicle movements out every day. The number of parking spaces on the site as proposed are less than that. So in that terms, its impact is lessened, and there are wider benefits of the proposal itself, not least in terms of the contribution to the town centre travel plan, and the wider programmes for us to improve accessibility across the town centre. One of which of the schemes may in the future may well be looking at Brian Bevan roundabout.
Okay, Judith, you wish, I think, to come back on that.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. I appreciate that, you know, the vehicle movements may be counted as less, but with a hotel, you also get various services. You have staffing, you know, supply vehicles, logistics, whatever. So I don't think it will necessarily lessen the traffic, because with the car park, you have cars parked there in the morning, they go home in the evening or whatever. So, but I'd like it noted that whatever you can do to improve the safety of this roundabout, that, you know, this last mile that the council is pushing, this is taken into consideration. Thank you.
Right, thanks, Judith. Councillor Barr, you wish to comment or ask a question?
Well, it's a really quick question to the officers. What I see before me is entirely acceptable. The illustration of the nature of both the height and the style and quality of the building is attractive. The problem is that hotels vary enormously and have very different impacts on the surrounding area depending on the market niche they try to go for. So if they try to go for an absolutely rock bottom price and simply be a cheap place for a bed, that is a different proposition to one which is priced slightly higher and directly aimed at business people. And I can understand the concerns of the Village Hotel, which is a full service, full function hotel with restaurants, leisure facilities and so on, which this hotel isn't going to be. Do we know what niche in the market this hotel wishes to occupy, and is that a material planning issue that we can take into account?
Nikki?
Thank you. There is no end operator identified for this site as yet, so we can't say with any certainty about who might come forward to take this site to its final stage. But what we can say is that we have put conditions on the approval, on the suggested approval, which would limit its functionality, if you like. So were you talking there about the Village Hotel and others within the vicinity who offer enhanced services, bars, restaurants, etc.? That isn't the offer that's provided within this hotel. It's just for people to come and stay. It's connected. It's connected to supporting the employment use, but obviously it's a hotel, it would be open to all clientele, but principally there would be no ancillary ancillary functions associated with that. Obviously there's a certain level you would expect such a breakfast to be provided, etc., and that would be encompassed within this type of hotel. But in terms of restaurant facilities where would have that wider appeal, that isn't covered by this proposal.
That's helpful. It doesn't quite, and that I anticipated that. I'm a bit wary about using brand names, but let's use American operators rather than UK operators. If you knew that something was going to be a Holiday Inn Express or something at that end of the scale, or something was going to be a Motel 6 in the States, you'd know that you were going to get very, very different types of buildings and very, very different types of operations. So do we know within the bedroom plus a light breakfast and no other facilities, whereabouts in the market this is going to be marketed for?
We don't, but I think the matters to consider there are then what are the material considerations that might fall out of what price range, for example, a hotel might be in. So the price range of the hotel, its pitch to the market isn't material in itself, but what could the implications? We need to look at the implications, the impacts of any hotel in that case. Yeah. So we've looked at it in terms of potential for antisocial behaviour, noise and general disturbance. That's limited just in terms of its functionality. There's limited outdoor space associated with it in terms of loitering, etc. And so beyond that, I'm struggling to see where the issue may be.
Okay, well, if I'm allowed, Chair, just one final sort of contribution.
Just one.
Contribution to that. We know that there have been serious problems with antisocial behaviour in Daresbury, where a hotel failed to attract the market niche it was hoping for. And likewise, there are hotel operators running very famous hotels in the centre of Liverpool who have abandoned any commercial offering to providing a rock bottom price offering, and as a result getting antisocial behaviour there as well. How could we ensure that the offering here would not attract antisocial behaviour to this area?
I think in terms of its location, it is primarily within an employment area, and I think that in itself, its locational factor, I think would assist in that. The fact that there's no outdoor space associated with this means that any antisocial behaviour would be retained within the envelope of the building itself, and at that point then it becomes a management issue and obviously a reputational issue for the hotel management.
I'm very grateful to you, Nikki. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair.
Yep, Councillor McCarthy, you've been waiting patiently. Have you got a question or a comment?
No, it's just comment really, Chair. Having read the documentation, I mean, I've stayed over many years in this type of what I would call a business hotel. Some provide a breakfast, but this isn't one that's going to provide facilities for functions similar to weddings, gala nights, where people can go in and out for a meal. It's not that, far from it. So they're a functional business hotel, and that's as I see it. There's one point here regarding the parking does not accord with parking standards. Well, where the location of this hotel is and being a business hotel, one would assume they would attract business coming into Banquay Station, where they could walk down to the hotel, similarly from Central Station. So I wouldn't think necessarily that everyone using this type of hotel would come by car. So I just see it as like I say, that they're throughout the country, these type of hotels, usually reasonably priced, provide clean bedrooms, etc., but minimum amounts of services, and that's basically what the hotel is, and that's what we need to judge it on. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I don't have any further comments from councillors coming up. Are there any further points from officers?
No, thank you, Chair.
Right, in that case, I propose the motion. Sorry, a comment has just arrived. Is that Councillor Parish?
Yes, sorry, it was, Chair. It was just, I wanted to check. We had a late representation from on behalf of the Village Hotel, and I just wanted to check whether there had been an original objection from
the Village Hotel sent in one of the representations.
Yes, yeah, but whether there had been an original objection on those grounds, and perhaps just to reinforce, because the issue there was the lower number of parking than the normal standard. I think Councillor McCarthy's mentioned about proximity to the railway, but just wondered.
Okay. Mike, would you like to comment on the parking? I know there's not as much parking as there are rooms.
Thanks, Chair. No, the two issues that the Village Hotel raise are the fact that the parking doesn't meet our parking standards as such, but as has been pointed out by Councillor McCarthy already, one of the issues we've taken into account is the accessibility of this site to the hotel, to the town centre, to other car parking facilities, and the contribution to the town centre travel plan. And the other issue that they raised were the concerns of servicing. But the servicing diagrams that have been provided prove that the site can be appropriately serviced. I mean, typically a car park layout has a 6 metre aisle width, and that's more than adequate width for a service vehicle to get round. It's making sure that it can manoeuvre within the site, and we're satisfied that the information provided addresses that.
Okay, thank you.
Right, does that answer your comment, Steve?
Yeah, to a certain degree. Okay. I mean, I I take the point. I think we've all been at functions at the Village Hotel when finding a space on the car park has not been easy. So I can understand their concern. Yeah, given it's difficult because the nature of the hotel may be, I'd say, a different market.
Thank you. Right, I propose the motion that the application is approved subject to conditions and the Section 106 agreement. Councillor McCarthy, would you like to second that?
Yes, I'm happy to second it, Chair.
Right, thank you. Are there any amendments to the motion? Okay, the motion then has been proposed and seconded. Can I hand over to Democratic Services to take the vote?
Thank you, Chair. So Councillor Barr.
For.
Councillor Carey.
For.
Councillor Flaherty.
For.
Councillor Friend.
For.
Councillor Grime.
For.
McCarthy.
I can't hear her.
Councillor Mundry.
Oh, for.
Councillor Parish.
For.
Councillor Wheeler.
For.
Councillor Wright.
For.
Sorry, Councillor McCarthy.
For.
Been approved, Chair.
Right, thank you. Item 2 then. This is application 220-38247. It's land to the south of Astor Drive and east of Witherwin Avenue, Grappenhall Hayes, Warrington, WA4 3LG. It is a reserved matters application, major. Details of residential layout, scale, appearance and landscaping in relation to outline permission 2018-34167 for the residential development of 110 dwellings and associated development on phase 1B. The recommendation is to approve subject to conditions. Can I invite the development manager to present a report?
Thank you, Chair. This is a reserved matters application for 110 new residential properties. It's pursuant to the outline consent for the wider area of up to 400 houses, which was granted planning permission in January 2018. The area subject to outline were being developed as 3 development parcels known as phases 1A, 1B and 2. Reserve matters approval was given to phases 1A and 1B by DMC in March 2020, and at the time phase B, which is the site of this application, was due to be taken forward by Stuart Milne Homes. It is now being taken forward by Rowland Homes, and they are the joint applicant of this development with Homes England, they are also developing phase 1A. Both these phases have already commenced on site in accordance with the previous permission, and a phasing plan is included on page 62 of the report for your information and reference. The application is before members due to the number of representations received. The application was advertised by 360 neighbour notification letters, site notices and press notice. 19 representations have been received on the basis of the principle of development, character including density, traffic and impacts of construction, residential amenity and trees and ecology, and these are detailed within the local representation section of the report. Appleton Parish Council and Grappenhall Parish Council do not object to the proposal. However, they do raise concerns regarding highways, a disproportionate amount of green space, layout and location of affordable housing, and these are detailed on page 14 of the report. As members are aware, all planning applications must be determined in accordance with local planning policies unless other material considerations indicate otherwise. The relevant local planning policies contained within the core strategies are detailed on pages 42 and 43 of your report. The principle of the proposed development at this density has been established within the outline consent, and the subsequent reserve matters application approved for this parcel in March last year. The current application proposes a reduction of 4 units compared to the previously approved scheme. And the matter of principle and all other issues are detailed within the report. However, I would like to focus on access and highway safety, design and layout and residential amenity. And I'll take each of these in turn. Just before I get to that, though, you can just see on your screen there that was the layout, just for a reference, for ease of reference. That was the layout that was approved in 2020, so March 2020, for Stuart Milne Homes. That's just for ease of reference. The access to the site is via Lichfield Avenue. Although a condition was placed on the original outline consent to ensure that no more than 100 dwellings could be served from any one access, this was subsequently amended, and the previous reserve matters reflected that consent and proposed the access for 114 houses. The proposal sees a reduction in this to 110, with a continuation of road and pavement widths to reflect the adjacent highway network. There are no significant impacts on highway safety or surrounding road movements as a result of the proposal, and it's considered acceptable in these terms. Parking is provided in curtilage with some visitor spaces on street. This approach accords with supplementary planning guidance and is also considered to be acceptable. Consideration has been given to connectivity through the site by sustainable means, with provision made to link into the existing wider pedestrian and cycle network, with details and implementation secured by condition. The proposal takes into account the existing character of the established residential area, as well as those properties approved under Phase 1A in terms of detailing and palette of materials, although designs have been adapted to take into account the character within this phase, which include a wider variety of house types, including terraces, semi-detached and detached properties. House types and styles largely respond to the street scene, and the existing residential area were in proximity to it. The development respects all internal highways, but is outward facing with vegetation buffers to all sides. The exception is where the proposed properties immediately abut those on Dashwood Close. Initially, the plans demonstrated the creation of an anti-space between the fence of the proposed housing and the fence lines of the properties on Dashwood Close, thought to be necessary due to land ownership issues. This position has subsequently been clarified as per the update note, and there will be no space created between the gardens of the proposed development and those of the existing. The amenity of existing residents is safeguarded by adequate separation distances in accordance with council standards, which are detailed in relation to the relevant properties on pages 49 and 50 of the report. Similarly, the separation distances between proposed properties are also acceptable, and accommodation standards accord with nationally described space standards. 30% affordable housing was secured through Section 106 at outline stage, and this phase of the development fulfils its requirement to create a sustainable mixed tenure development, which includes 77 market houses and 34 affordable. Of the affordable units, 16 would be for rent and 17 shared ownership located across the site. In conclusion, this reserve matters application reflects the parameters established by the outline consent, including the subsequent variation in condition, and is being considered acceptable in principle. The application relates to a high quality development, providing much needed affordable housing which can be accommodated without detrimental impact on existing neighbouring properties or on highway safety, and with respect to local ecology and Grappenhall Hayes Wall Garden, a non-designated heritage asset. The application is considered to accord with local and national planning policy as set out in the report, and on this basis it is recommended for approval subject to conditions, including those as amended by the update note. And I'd just like to clarify within the report, I think there's reference to Withering and Witherwin Avenue. Just to clarify, it is Witherwin Avenue. I apologise for that typographical error. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for that. I can confirm that we've received an additional written representation from DPOL in support of the application. I confirm this representation will be included in the minutes of this meeting. So I'll now invite comments and questions from members to officers. I'm assuming that we don't have to bring in Councillor Wheeler's first comment, which was confirming that it is Witherwin Avenue. That the next comment came from Councillor Parish. So can you take yours first, Steve?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I've got two separate items, so we'll see if anybody else chips in. But
yes,
first on the condition for drainage, because in the update report we got the concerns of United Utilities about the discharge rate. And we have got, but then it says condition 22 sees to that. But I did just wonder, it's almost a principle thing, but conditions have to be precise, and the condition doesn't say what the discharge rate should be. So obviously, does that mean if they can't achieve the discharge rate that United Utility wants, they couldn't build? And should that condition be more precise about the discharge rate? Do you want the second question as well, or?
Let's just ask for an answer to the first one.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So condition 2.
22.
When when we're looking to discharge condition 22, we will liaise with United Utilities over that. So they will have the opportunity there. If it doesn't meet with their requirements, then we wouldn't discharge it.
Thank you. Using discharge in two senses there, of course, discharge of water and discharge of conditions. On page 63, I think the only thing that was the report on adjoining properties actually mentions 6 Dashwood and the distance, but it does look as if, so it's a small print, let's see, plot 78 does overlook the garden a bit, although at a bleak angle. And I thought that wasn't quite clear in the report, so I did just wonder about that, and I'm not sure. Again, I'm not sure it's a deal breaker, but plot 78 is sort of overlooking the back garden of number 6 Dashwood.
Okay, do you want to comment on that, Nikki?
Other than to say, just there's no direct interface there between number 78 and number 6 Dashwood. So there would be oblique views into their garden. That's not unusual from any house, just the same as you would be from standing in the back of any one of those plots. You could see into the neighbouring property.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wheeler.
Thank you, Chair. Just got a couple of comments and two questions, Chair, if that's okay. Yeah. I'm pleased you've resolved the boundary issue with the double fencing. This happened on the Futurespear Green development, and we've got a row of fencing up, 2 rows of fencing up there with a 1 foot sort of no man's land in between, which is just awful. So I'm glad this has been designed, and that has been designed out. I also welcome, sorry, Chair, 9.27, the open boundary treatment and removal of permitted development rights, because I think that's really important. So I'm pleased about that. My 2 concerns are 9.16, storage of bins and refuse, sorry, and the creation of ginnels behind the terrace properties. This happened on the Futurespear Green site as well, and already had complaints that these sort of these ginnels behind the properties are quite dark, often high fencing, no proposed lighting, and already are a repository for rubbish. I don't know whether you can design that out at this stage, but I don't like it, and I would prefer it not to be there. And my other final comment, Chair, is 9.29. A number of the properties have only a small area of residential amenity space. I don't know how small that amenity space is. It seems a shame that we're designing a new build estate which has a few drawbacks in relation to the amenity space. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Judith. Have you any comments in reply, Nikki? There
are actually very few terrace properties on the site, but if we take the example there of, let's say, 104, just 104, plot 104, the ginnel that serves that property only. So although it wouldn't be lit, the opportunity exists there for the resident who is living in that property to provide their own lighting, if that is the case, solar panelled or otherwise. But it's very limited, so it doesn't. These ginnels don't serve huge swathes of development. They are very localised.
Thank you. Have we got any other comments from committee members or any questions anyone wants to ask the officers?
Yeah. Could I come in, Councillor?
Certainly.
Thank you, Joan. It's just a couple of questions. This is from the Appleton Parish Council Chair, the request that we don't cause any unnecessary traffic restriction during rush hours if and when the construction starts. I don't see that as being a major problem, and I'm sure we could accommodate that. The other one in there is the footpaths are not connected existing surrounding footpaths. Could we have some answer to that? Another one was the lack of the cycleway. Another one, they've talked about design, but I'm not quite sure it's design or the outlook. They've read it under design, but they say an outlook, some of the homes are looking at blank gable ends. So that's not necessarily anything to do with the design of the house. It's actually where it's located. So perhaps you can give us some updates on that. Thank you.
So Mike, would you like to take the comments on the footpaths and cycleways and so on?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I mean, obviously the site itself is residential in nature, and I think the original concerns about connectivity to the surrounding network were flagged up in respect of the design of the connections. As you can see from the picture on your screen, there are connection points to the left into the wall garden. To the top of the screen, there are 2 connection points to the existing footway cycleway that runs across the site. There's a connection to the right as you look at it, and obviously it's linked direct into Litchfield Avenue through the footway and the carriageway. So we're satisfied with the connections that are available. I think the concern arose, and it was raised by highway officers as well, were in respect of the design, because originally the connections were narrow, and we wanted something that reflected the ability for pedestrians and cyclists to use. So overall, we're satisfied with that.
Thank you. Nikki, would you like to take up the point about the outlook where we've got a gable end at the front of the road? I think that is the problem being referred to, if I'm right.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just having a look through and look at the location plan there. I can't see any examples where there is the principal habitable room windows are overlooking a blank gable, whether it relates to with new properties or otherwise. I wonder whether, Liz, whether you've got any more comments on that.
To be honest, I also, looking at the site layout plan, couldn't see any proposed properties that faced onto other people's blank gables. We worked very hard to make sure that didn't happen. The comments of the parish council may not have been updated following the original approvals.
Okay, thanks, Liz.
Yeah. It might be, Chair, that the parish council need to identify exactly which house or houses this would affect, and if there's been an update, it might have eradicated the problem. So it might be as well that if that problem is still there, they could perhaps identify to the officers which house or houses would be affected.
That sounds reasonable. Is that going to be practical, Nikki or Liz?
I don't. Within the timeframes that we've got at the moment, we were looking at the plans and here in front of us for assessment and hopefully a decision tonight if we can arrive at that conclusion. And looking at the plans that we have in front of us, there is no direct relationship that demonstrates habitable room window interfacing with a blank gable.
Okay, thank you. Can we go on to Bob Barr's question, if that's okay, Tony.
Yes, it's back to the question of affordability. I mean, the proportion of affordable housing is welcome. There seems to be a conflict between the parish council, who said that the affordable housing was concentrated, whereas we've been told there's actually been pepper potted through the site. I think it's been pepper potted through the site, but I'm sure that Liz or Nikki can tell us that. The other thing that concerns me about affordability is, right, we've reached the right proportion of affordability, but it's back to shared ownership or affordable rent. In every meeting that we've had so far, we have had either no social housing at all, or social housing in locations which were being offered in locations which were unsustainable. I'm not suggesting that this would have been a sustainable location for social housing, but the fact that a development of this size makes no contribution to social housing needs of the borough concerns me. So the question is about the pepper potting.
Nikki, can you take that?
Yes, thank you. So the affordable housing would be pepper potted through development. It's mainly to the east of the link drive coming through, so the east of the main access coming through, but it is pepper potted throughout the site.
But no contribution to social housing at all.
So in terms of affordable rent, that would be social housing.
Right. Except that affordable rents are 80% of market rent, which would be more than normal social rents.
So that's the policy requirements. They are according with the policy requirements.
Right. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Steve Wright.
Yes, Chair, I think it was more or less what Bob was asking. Pleased that we got the 30%. I was just happy to know that it will be distributed around the site and not located in one place. And similar concerns about, I would have preferred more social affordable, because they are really are affordable. But yeah, I think it's 30%. It's okay. So yeah, I think you answered Bob. Thank you.
Right, thanks for that comment. Does anyone else from the councillors want to comment or ask a question, or are there any other points from officers, and reply perhaps to the last one, or any others? Nikki?
No, thank you, Chair.
All right. In that case, I will propose the motion that the application is approved, subject to conditions. And can I ask Councillor Friend, are you prepared to second this?
Yes, Chair, thank you. I second it.
Are there any amendments to? Right, I have no amendments, so the motion to approve is moved and seconded. Can I hand over to Democratic Services, Katie, to take the vote?
Thank you, Chair. So Councillor Barr?
For.
Councillor Carey?
For.
Councillor Flaherty?
For.
Councillor Friend?
For.
Councillor Grime?
For.
Councillor McCarthy?
For.
Councillor Mundry?
For.
Councillor Parish?
For.
Councillor Wheeler?
For.
And Councillor Wright?
For.
That has been approved, Chair.
Thank you. We move on to item 3. That's application 2020-38329. Bridgewater High Upper School, Broomfields Road, Appleton, Warrington, WA4 3AE. This is full planning major. Proposed demolition of portions of the existing school building and the construction of 2 extensions to the building. External alterations, including additional hardstanding for parking, installation of additional external doorways, external lighting, and a canopy connected the playground to the central courtyard. The recommendation is to approve subject to conditions. Can I invite the Development Manager to present a report?
Thank you, Councillor. This is a full planning permission for extensions to Bridgewater High Upper School as part of a planned programme to relocate Year 9s from the lower school and ultimately to increase pupil numbers at the school by 300 in response to likely future demand, starting with an additional 2-form Year 7 intake in 2023. There are 3 main elements of the new build proposal, and that's the Northern Corridor extension, which will provide additional 2-storey accommodation fronting but significantly set back from Broomfields Road. The Southern Corridor extension, which is part ground floor, part first floor, which would be principally obscured from the public view by the existing building, but which would be visible in part from Broomfields Road. And a new canopy located centrally within the site. A new student drop-off point is also proposed along with reconfigured parking to the front of the site. The application is before members because it is a council-owned site and objections have been received. The application was advertised by 56 neighbour notification letters, site notice and press notice. 8 representations have been received primarily on the basis of highway safety and increased traffic and the design of the proposals. All issues raised are detailed within section 4 of the report. The main issues raised relate to the principle of development. As members are aware, all planning applications must be determined in accordance with local planning policies unless other material considerations indicate otherwise. And the relevant local planning policies contained in the core strategy are detailed within section 7 of the report. The key issues associated with the development are within section 9 of the report, and for the purpose of this discussion I will focus on the principle of the proposal, highway matters and design, and I'll take each of these in turn. The support for the principle of development is contained within the core strategy in terms of supporting population growth in the borough. The details of the application have been thoroughly assessed by Transport Development Control, who were satisfied based on the submitted transport statement that there will be no significant adverse impact as a result of the increase in pupils and staff at the upper school site. School drop-off and pick-up times do not coincide with peak traffic flows and would not amount to a severe impact on the highway network. Furthermore, the changes to the access and parking are considered to have beneficial impacts. The application is therefore supported from a highways perspective, subject to conditions which would include a construction management plan and a travel plan to reduce single person car occupancy and supporting sustainable means of travel. In terms of residential amenity, the proposed extensions will be visible from the properties opposite. Although they will be set within the site and a significant distance away from residents on Broomfields Road. The closest properties are those to the south side of Broomfields Road. The Southern Corridor extension would be visible from these properties, but they would be in excess of 75 metres away from across the existing play areas and through curtilage vegetation. The presence of the building, although visible, would not impact adversely on amenity. Although there are no conditions on any previous permission that limit the numbers of pupils that can attend the school, consideration has been given to the extensions in facilitating increasing the intensity of the use of the site by 180 pupils at the upper site by 2027, and the potential for increased general disturbance on local residents as a result. It is considered that the impacts from the additional children attending the school will be limited in the context of existing numbers, and that the condition requiring a school travel plan will in any case mitigate against any of these impacts. The design approach differs between the proposed extensions, with each element relating to its context. The Northern Corridor extension is brick built with clear references to the host building. The Southern Corridor has been purposefully designed to be a more modern, lightweight glazed structure with glass detailing to respond to the adjacent landscape. The courtyard connection would be in timber with polycarbonate roof. All elements, although distinctively different, are considered to enhance the existing school and respond appropriately to their setting. In conclusion, the application supports the projected population growth within the borough and is therefore acceptable in principle. The siting and design of the proposal are considered acceptable in their context, and there would be no significant adverse impacts of the development on residential amenity. The increase in accommodation would facilitate an increase in pupil numbers, and the impacts associated with this are identified as mainly being general disturbance from comings and goings, which will be largely absorbed in the context of the existing use, but in any case could be mitigated by a travel plan. The application is considered to comply with local policy as set out in the report and is therefore recommended for approval subject to conditions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Nikki. I can confirm that we've received additional written representation from Bridgewater High School in support of the application, and I confirm this representation will be included in the minutes of this meeting. So I'll now invite comments and questions from members to officers. Please indicate on the chat function if you wish to comment. So Judith, you are first.
Thank you, Chair. I think this is an application to be welcomed. I think it's a sympathetic extension to a building that, because it's been there so long, sits very well in its environment. It's a lovely, spacious site, and I think this will only be an enhancement. I think also the improvements to the school drop-off will be welcomed. But can I ask Mike for highways? I don't know if it's possible to go to the slide where it's one of your slides, Nikki, where it showed the traffic flow. I think it's the next one. That one, yeah. Where it shows out, that access is shared by the leisure centre, which is further up that, well, I suppose it's a road, isn't it? And it's a short distance to the exit on the bend of Broomfields Road. I'm just wondering, was any consideration given to the impact of additional traffic, both to that road and to the really what is quite a dangerous bend?
Mike?
Thanks, Chair. There will have been the access. You're right. It creates a new access onto the access road that serves Broomfields Leisure Centre. It's my understanding that that exit point is not for drop-off traffic. It's to serve the car park, which is there's the number 2 there, which is the reconfigured parking. So effectively, you have the same situation as now, where staff and vehicles associated with the school are within the car park, and rather than leave by the two-way access point on Broomfields Road, they now leave via a one-way system out onto there and emerge at Broomfields Road. The drop-off itself is number 1, so there shouldn't be any increase in traffic at the Broomfields Leisure Centre access point at school start and finish times. Does that make sense?
Sorry, I'm.
You wish to reply to that, Judith?
Yes, sorry, I may have confused it with the drop-off, but that is an additional access point onto the shared road with Broomfields Leisure Centre and all the 4G pitches there, and that is going to make that an extremely busy road, which I think is only one. I think it's only one car width. It's quite a tight squeeze if you're getting 2 cars past it.
I think there's a pinch point at the access point to Broomfields Road, but it is only an egress point. And so obviously vehicles exiting the car park would be required to give way to vehicles already on the access road to the leisure centre, if you like, and then emerge onto the junction of Broomfields Road.
Oh, okay. Are we going to get proper markings about, line markings and signs then to indicate that?
There should be, because the general layout plan, which is on page 94 of your report, indicates a one-way system there. So I'm sure that will be picked up as part of the development proposal itself. Okay,
because that, I mean, it is an incredibly busy stretch of road. If there's if there's training going on, if there's a parents' evening, plus all the additional activity that goes on at the leisure centre when it reopens. So I think, real consideration needs to be given to the safety of that road, that access road to the leisure centre. Thank you.
Thank you, Judith. Does anyone else wish to make a comment on the Bridgewater High School application? a comment or a question for officers?
Yes, please, Chair.
Councillor Barr.
Yes, like Councillor Wheeler, I welcome this application, and I particularly welcome the attention to design and the way in which the design and the compatibility of the design with the existing building, but also with some more modern elements, has been explained to the committee. So I think that's very welcome. Given that we know from previous applications tonight and other applications that the demand for school places here is going to increase dramatically, then I think that Broomfield's doing this expansion in time for that is entirely appropriate. So I welcome tonight's application. No questions.
Thank you. Have we any further comments? Any points of clarification from officers considering what the councillors have said?
No, thank you, Chair.
Right. Can I then propose the motion that the application is approved subject to conditions? Councillor Barr, would you like to second that motion?
I'm very happy to second.
Right, thank you. Are there any amendments to the motion? Right, I don't see any amendments, so can I hand over to Democratic Services to take the vote?
Thank you, Chair. So Councillor Barr.
For.
Councillor Carey.
For.
Councillor Flaherty.
For.
Councillor Friend.
For.
Councillor Grime.
For.
Councillor McCarthy.
For.
Councillor Mundry.
For.
Councillor Parish.
For.
Councillor Wheeler.
For.
And Councillor Wright.
For.
That is approved, Chair.
Thank you. Agenda item 5 is the appeal decisions summary. This report is attached to your agenda starting on page 97. 2 appeals have been decided and 2 received since the previous report. Does the planning officer wish to make any additional comment?
No, thank you, Chair.
If any members wish to comment or ask questions, can you please indicate as usual?
No.
Chair Steve Parish.
Yes.
Just it's a follow-on really from the appeal decision on page 97, the agricultural building, the farm equipment. I've not had time to look at it because it didn't come to the committee, but that's been dismissed. Just an observation. I have raised it privately with Nicky Gallagher that there was an odd appeal, well, a judicial case where somebody got permission in the Greenbelt to put a building on where there had been polytunnels. So I thought that was very bizarre. I don't know whether Nicky managed to find anything else about that one. It's not this business, but you know, given how easily you can get round the agricultural buildings thing, I thought that was an interesting one that we've had dismissed, and the other one that's gone to court apparently.
Yes. Any comment, Nicky?
I'm afraid I haven't been able to have a look at that yet as Councillor Parish. I'll make some headway. I'll get back to you.
It's one of those. It sounds like one of those coach and horses arguments again for getting round. If you can put housing on anywhere there's been a polytunnel.
I think there is a nuance to the case, but we'll have a look into it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments from members or from officers?
Yes, Chair.
Okay.
I do welcome the appeal that was dismissed because it was. I think we were told that it wasn't an appropriate development in the Greenbelt. It was just an inappropriate building in terms of our other policies, which I thought was great.
Right. Okay. Can I propose the appeal summary report is noted? If there are any problems, can you indicate? Very well, the report is noted. And with thanks to everyone for your hard work and attention, officers and members alike, I declare the meeting closed. Thank you.
Thank you, officers. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair.